Been a busy day in Canberra with the federal government copping heat on two key policies. First, a backflip on the proposed fuel emissions standards, or so-called ute tax. Labor now reclassifying utes and vans as light commercial cars, which effectively lowers their emission reduction targets.
Some people wanted us to go harder and faster. Some had concerns and wanted us to slow. But everybody here today has had a say.
There was criticism today as well on the government's changes to immigration detention policy. It will now push for a maximum prison term of 5 years for people who don't comply with deportation requests.
It is outrageous and incredibly undemocratic. It is an absolute parody of what this place is supposed to be about.
Amy Remeikis joins us from Parliament House. Amy, let's start with the ute tax, to borrow the opposition's term. Has the government really caved?
Well, the opposition calling it a ute tax is about as accurate as when I eat an entire chocolate cake and call it self-care. But putting that aside, the government has kind of caved on some things. It's pushed out the starting date by 6 months to July 2025, and it's fiddled with some weights. But pretty much it's landed on a policy that's made the car industry happy, it's made green groups happy, and most importantly, we actually have a fuel efficiency standards, which is not something this country has had ever.
The car companies were, however, hammering the line that tougher standards would have driven prices up. Was that ever true?
I think that's what we'd all expect them to say. And yeah, some cars will get more expensive, but other cars will get cheaper. And I'm not sure if there's many people who only buy one particular car for their entire life. We tend to make decisions based on the economics of the time and what car we can afford. And while some cars will get more expensive, a whole bunch will get cheaper. And that's what fuel efficiency standards are all about.
Amy, tell me about the chocolate cake situation. Do we need to talk? Is everything okay?
I'm with you, Amy. It is self-care.
It is. Look, sometimes you just need those carbs. And if that means that, yes, you've thrown the cake out and you go back to it, then that's what you've got to do. I'm not judging.
Meanwhile, in other news, the government has, it's landed on a tougher new stance on immigration detainees, mandatory sentences, effectively. Now, I seem to remember mandatory sentencing was a debate from, 15 years ago, and the Labor Party seemed to be staunchly against it. Is this going to breach the Labor Party's own policy here?
Yes, it will breach their platform of being against mandatory sentencing, but it's amazing how often the Labor Party do that when it comes to national security or just political expediency, and that's what we have happening here. So Labor members probably are not going to be too happy, but the government, it feels that this is the best bill that's going to get the coalition's support, that they can ram it through the parliament and everyone will probably forget about it, is the plan.
Amy, there was so much going on today, like the opposition coming for the supermarkets, and question time was kind of chaotic. The premiers are all officially revolting over NDIS funding, and also generally revolting. Why are things suddenly so nuts?
Because we are in an election year, and so everything is going to be turned up to 11. We're not only just in an election year, and by that I mean it has to be held any time before May next year, but we're also just before the budget. So everybody is getting out all of their causes, dragging them through the streets and trying to get the government to pay attention. Meanwhile, the government wants you to pay attention to what it's doing on cost of living so it can win that election. And unfortunately, that means that we'll all be turning to the chocolate cake to eat our feelings to get through this next 12 months.
Save a piece for me. Amy, you're the best. Thank you.
Thank you.